alignment, manifestation, synchronicity, dark night of the soul. What does it all mean? Is the woo sometimes a little too woo for you? Join me as I break it all down on Decoding the Woo Woo with Dana Sardano. Hi, my name is Dana Sardano, and this is Decoding the Woo Woo. Welcome, and thank you for joining me. Decoding the Woo Woo is a show that I created because I wanted to clarify some of the misconceptions of spirituality, and I wanted to break down some of the heady and esoteric concepts and really demystify the cryptic and magical nature of the woo, and remind us all that the woo is you. We're all spiritual beings, and we're all here and having this experience to learn, to grow, to expand, and hopefully feel joy and love in our hearts while doing so. And that's what I'm doing, and I'm hoping that you're here to do the same. So let's get started. Super excited about today because today we're going to talk about vibration, frequency. And if you've been following along up until now, this is now episode 7. The title of this episode is Bind Your Pony. And up until now, everything I talked about, everything centered around understanding that we are driving this thing, that we are creating our own reality, and how we can do that and how we can navigate it into the best experience that we can have. And I talked about our personal GPS. I talked about our beliefs and again, how they shape our reality. And I spent quite a bit of time talking about our energy centers and how when our energy centers are balanced internally, how our external world reflects that balance. So I want to expand a little bit on the energy centers. I talked about the chakras and how we have these 7 energy centers within our bodies, but we have energy centers outside of our bodies. Everything is energy. Everything around us is energy. Within us, around us, and that is the basis to all of this. And when we understand that everything is energy, we can then learn how to read that energy, how to move that energy, how to manipulate that energy, how to recognize that energy. And yeah, so when we're able to do that, then we can, experience life to the fullest. So, again, broken record, everything is energy. And all energy, again, from the desk that I'm sitting at to the air that I'm breathing, all has an energetic footprint. It all has its own vibration. You have your own vibration. I have my own vibration. It all has its own vibration. And you can read and detect and decode and maneuver the energy by recognizing the frequency of the vibration. So in the simplest of terms, things either vibrate at a higher frequency or a lower frequency. The higher the frequency, the quicker the frequency, the lighter the energy is. The lower the frequency or the slower the frequency, the denser the energy is. And this goes for all things. But today, I want to talk about how this affects you, how this affects your life experience. So, let's begin with the frequency of emotions, okay? So your emotions are just energy. And there's a spectrum. And the beautiful thing about being a human being is there's a spectrum of emotions that the range is so vast, beginning in love and all the way down to fear and all of the different emotions in between. So the highest frequency of emotion is love. So love, joy, peace, freedom, bliss, harmony, euphoria, you get the picture. All the way down to fear, anger, frustration, worry, grief, irritation, and everything falls on the line in between. So we, as humans, and we talked about this in previous episodes about our personal GPS, we are able to detect energy, detect the frequency of the energy through the frequency of our emotion, because our emotion will match it. It's a little bit out there, but I really want to break it down in a way that we can all understand. So, firstly, The question is, right? The question of the hour, how do I raise my vibration? How do I raise my vibration? Everybody wants to be in these higher emotional states, these higher emotional ways of being. I want to live in joy. I want to live in bliss. I want to live in freedom. How do I do that? Again, I have to raise my vibration to to remain consistently in these emotions. So again, how do I do that? First and foremost, so simple. Do things that you love. Do things that feel good. So this, what I'm about to tell you is I'm totally making this up. Like, the numbers are completely arbitrary, but just follow along with this analogy for a second. Let's just say I am a point on a line and I have a baseline frequency of a 6. Again, completely arbitrary number. I have a baseline frequency of a 6. And my baseline frequency could be a variety of things. Could be, I come into this lifetime with certain things that I needed to learn, with imbalances from previous existences. And I've chosen, and if you're here and you're listening and you've been following along this far, you kind of buy into this line of thinking. I have chosen experiences, in this lifetime that are in line with that energetic footprint. So I can learn, so I can grow, so I can expand, so I can raise my frequency. So I come in with this baseline. My baseline is a 6, again, made up. And I want to raise it to a 7. So I have to experience things that are in alignment so I can match that frequency with a 7. So let's just say playing with puppies is a 7. Going on a nature walk is a 7. Eating healthy whole foods, from the earth, fruits and vegetables, it's a 7. So I will play with a puppy and I'll raise my vibration to a 7, another point on a line. I'll go for a nature walk, another 7, another point on a line. I'll play with a puppy, another 7, another point on a line. Again, made up numbers. But what's important to understand here is I'm creating a momentum by doing these different things, and I'm creating a line essentially, and I am consistently raising my frequency to a 7. Then maybe I'll have a bad day. Maybe it'll be a 4. But if I go back and I continuously, it's like exercise. You exercise once, that's fine. You exercise twice, that's fine. But when you exercise 6 weeks in a row and then you look in the mirror, you're like, hey there, right? So how do you raise your frequency? You match things of a higher frequency and you do them consistently and you create momentum. Make sense? Okay. The second way to raise your frequency. The first way, do more things that you love. The second way is address the things that you don't. Nobody wants to do that. But that is how you're going to consistently raise your frequency. I could play with all the puppies in the world, but if I have deserving belief systems, if I have unresolved traumas, if I have toxic behavioral patterns, I will not be able to consistently raise my vibration. The density of the energy, the density of the vibration, the density of that trauma and that drama and all that unresolved stuff that does not go away will not allow me to raise my vibration on a consistent level. So it's the old 1-2 punch. You cannot have one without the other. Make sense? So it's funny when I think about how we have to dig in order to raise, right? It seems a little counterintuitive, but I think about a friend of mine way back, like when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I had this friend, she was a little bit older than me, and she had a lot of life experience. And I was like living in the life of delusion. Again, all my unresolved patterns, all my toxic, stuff and my beliefs, my irrational beliefs and all of that. And all I wanted to do was be loved. All I wanted was somebody to see me and appreciate me and to have a healthy relationship, but I was not yet able to do that. And so I would meet these guys, red flags everywhere, right? And I would meet these guys and I would just, with the blinders, try to make them what I wanted them to be, what I needed them to be. And she would always say to me, what are you doing? You're always digging in a pile of shit for that pony. Keep digging for that pony in that pile of shit, Dana. And I hated that she said that. Keep digging for that pony. I hated it. But she was right. She was right. I was completely delusional. But I always think about that statement. You're digging for the pony in the pile of shit. And even though she meant something completely different, that's how I look at vibration and raising your vibration. In order for us to find that pony, in order for us to raise our vibration, we have to dig in that pile of shit. You see the pony at the bottom, but you have to get rid of your mommy issues, get rid of your daddy issues, get rid of your lack of worthiness issues, your attachments, all of those things. And the more you dig to the bottom of that pile of shit, you will find that pony. And here's the really cool thing. When you do dig and you do find that pony, then you have desire to do more of the things that you want to do, which is number one, right? You do more of the things that you want to do. And the more you do the things that you want to do, the more ponies will show up, because it's a continuous leveling up, right? The more ponies will show up for you to dig for. But the cool thing is, what was once a big stinky pile of shit, I'm so eloquent, by the way, tell all of your friends. But what was once a big stinky pile of shit now turns into like, a little pile of shit. And then it turns into just like a hole. And then it turns into like a divot. And then it turns into like a mud puddle. It gets easier and easier as you raise your vibration, but it's got to go hand in hand. So I think about when I was single, and I, again, just poor choice in men, like every relationship. I wouldn't even call them a relationship because they never lasted more than 5 minutes. But every guy that I met was a direct mirror, a direct representation of my irrational beliefs. Again, my toxic behavioral patterns, all of that. And I did something in my late 30s that was contradictory to what I was doing. So I was in this vibration, right? I was in, it wasn't even a 6, we'll call it a 4. I was in this low vibration, and I kept doing all of these things, all these points on the line, all of this momentum that kept me at the 4. And then I decided to do something different. It's a long story that I'll save for another day, but I wound up moving. I had a dog. I couldn't have the dog where I lived. And instead of giving up the dog, I decided to move. But in the moving, so now I'm going out trying to meet guys, right? And then I'm like, okay, I have to move. And I take a break from that scene, and I change my residence. But in changing my residence, in my commitment to this animal, and in my commitment to my life, I change my behaviors. I'm painting my home, and I'm doing my landscaping, and I'm buying new furniture, and I'm putting up window treatments, and all of my attention is going towards creativity, inspiration, cultivating a safe and loving place for me and my dog. And as I'm doing this, not even realizing this, I'm raising my vibration. I'm connecting all of these points on the line. And when I did that, my vibration was raised because of it. I almost immediately met a guy. And within 2 years, I had both of my daughters. I had them back to back. So just rolling into 40, after spending all those years in these relationships, I had my daughters. So I did these things that I loved. I created the momentum, and I raised my vibration, and I aligned with what I wanted. But here's the thing. You can never ignore number 2. And number 2 is address the things that you don't like. So even though I had raised my vibration, well, I don't want to say temporarily, but superficially, I still had all these worthiness issues and all of these feelings of having to overcome all of my patterns, right? If you've watched any of my shows, there's no secrets. All of my patterns it gave me an opportunity. They came to the surface. And through this relationship with my girl's biological father, I had the opportunity to work through these things. And I did. So shortly after that relationship ended, and it evolved into other opportunities to raise my vibration. I forgave my father. Again, I'm telling this story like out, just kind of giving you random pieces. But in the initial shift, what's important here is in the initial shift of my shifting my attention, doing things that inspired me by buying the new house, by creating this home, aligning with more of what I wanted because I wanted to meet somebody, I wanted to have a family. Then recognizing I have to dig for my pony because just as there's a momentum of good, a momentum of doing things that you love on the line to raise your vibration, there's the momentum of all the irrational beliefs and all the toxic behavioral patterns and all of the things that don't serve you. That momentum has got to be reversed as well. So just as you're building this, you're reversing this. It's the 1-2 punch. You can't have one without the other. So now I'm in this situation with my girl's birth father. I have these children, but through my experience with him, it's easy for me to paint him the villain. He did this, that, the other, but he was an opportunity for me to work through, for me to dig for my pony. So I dig through my pony with him. That relationship ended shortly after my father stepped in after 25 years of estrangement, because now I'm aligned with that opportunity to dig for that pony and have forgiveness in my heart and raise my vibration again. So I forgave my father. And then I raised my vibration again, digging for the pony, reversing the momentum. And then my shmoopy stepped in. And then I'm involved with my shmoopy. And I have more opportunities. But again, the pile of shit isn't so deep anymore because I did some of that heavy lifting. Now I'm just in a mud puddle. And I'm working through these things with my shmoopy. And then I continued to do more things that I liked. I became inspired. I started painting. Another dot on that line. My vibration raises. Oh, more stuff, more momentum, more shit to wade through. And I had to deal with my estrangement with my mother. I wound up leaving a job that no longer served me because I created dissonance. And you could see the dance between 1 and 2 as you're creating more points on this line of things that you love. More opportunities, more ponies, more digging through shit, more stuff comes to the surface for you to address. And it's this beautiful dance. And what happens is this line seems so far up here and this pile of shit seems so far down here. But the more you do of this and the more you do of this, they get closer and closer. This becomes less of a pile of shit. It becomes more in alignment with the things that you love, and you create this center of balance. It truly is. I know I explained it in a very colorful way, but when you recognize this pattern and how this works, you truly can do the dance and enjoy the experience of raising the vibration. It really becomes fun. But here's what happens. When we do this, when I was doing most of it like unconscious, like I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to have a better life and do things that were better for me. And then I look back, in hindsight, and I'm like, oh my God, that was the pattern. So like, I was not a wizard. I was not doing this intentionally. But now that I understand it, I now do it intentionally. And I'm trying to offer you, the cliff notes here. But here's what happens. When we do begin to expand, when we do raise our vibration, we become resonant with things that we weren't resonant with before. We may be attracted to things that we didn't even consider before. Maybe new music. Again, maybe we feel the need to move. Maybe we feel the need to leave our job. Maybe new people come into our experience. But with that resonance, there is also dissonance. We no longer align with people that we were friends with. And we have to maybe sometimes end those relationships. We find dissonance at work. I had to leave my job. I could not be there anymore. Like it was like making me sick to go there. I had evolved. I had raised my vibration in a way out of that job. And it's scary. Oh my God. It's scary to jump ship from a life, from an identity, from a career, whatever it is that you've always known. But when you have the understanding that there are things that you're going to be resonant with, when you're willing to detach from those things that you have dissonance with, you will be amazed at where you'll find yourself. I want to read something to you. So for those of you, again, who have been watching, I've created this deck of Soul Traveler cards with my dear friend Anne-Marie Scordy, with my artwork and her profound and empowering channeled messages. So I pulled this card today. This, by the way, painting is called Tazzie's Babies. It was commissioned by a really good friend of mine. So her dog's super cute. Okay. The message on this card is called In Tandem. It is important for you to understand that as your vibrational level rises, your energy transforms. People, things, and situations that were previously compatible with you may no longer be so. Rest assured, these will be replaced with others harmonious with your new frequency. Also, know that it is possible for you to raise the vibration of others when you share your enlightenment with them. If they are ready and willing, you may travel together. It is not always necessary to clean house. Share your experience, and perhaps companionship may be ever stronger still as you evolve together. It is possible to grow in tandem. So when you're doing this work, and you feel yourself evolving, and you feel the resonance here and the dissonance here, you've experienced this. You've experienced where the people that you were compatible no longer feel compatible. No, I've done it both ways. I've burned the bridges. I'm not proud, but I've ended the relationships, and I have just continued to dedicate to myself, to be true to what my soul needs, what I need for my evolution, and share that with the people that I love, and with the hope that they are willing to evolve with me. And some of us, we're taking this trip together. Somebody's raising their vibration. We have to catch up, but we do. And then I raise mine, and then they catch up, and we do this dance together. Some are not interested in doing so. And that's okay too. It's like if we're all climbing a mountain together and we stop at a plateau to smell some flowers and have a picnic, and then we all pack up to continue moving, and a few people are like, "No, I'm good here." Okay. That's as far as you're willing to go. Then stay. I know with my husband, and I talk about this in my book, Decoding the Woo Woo, in 2018, when I was just like, I couldn't get enough. Like, I needed to know everything about all the things all the time. And I wanted to talk about it ad nauseum, and he was fearful. He wasn't ready. He didn't want to hear it. And I was trying to, force my agenda, and it was really creating some friction between us. And I was concerned that our relationship wasn't going to last. But I had to allow him to do things at his own pace, and I had to pull back. And when I pulled back and just continued to be and continued to do me, that was weird, but you know what I mean? He, because he loves me and because he's my schmoopy, he eventually rose to the occasion. Sometimes it doesn't happen. I have quite a few friends that have gone through divorces through all of this because one of the parties just didn't want to continue up that mountain. But that's okay too, because again, if we truly are all here to learn, to grow, to expand, and as we raise our vibrations and when we align with people to assist us in that learning and growing and expanding. But it's not always pretty. It takes struggle. It takes dissonance. It takes just sometimes the ugly emotions, the pain, the frustration, the sadness, in order to come out the other side. And that partner at that time was there to assist you in doing so. So just a little, I don't know, my 2 cents. When you're growing out of a relationship, maybe it's in your best interest to grow out of it with love, to have gratitude for the person, even though it's ugly at the time. I've been there. We all been there. But to have gratitude for their assistance in your leveling up. And then, vaya con Dios. Just want to share a little story. When I was getting married in 2014. I just recently had my 10-year anniversary, and what prompted this thought is I posted all my pictures on social media because it's totally self-indulgent. It was such a beautiful day. Oh my God, I looked gorgeous. Such a beautiful day, and it was so it was like a graduation for me in a lot of respects. That every year I just go off and I post all my pictures on social media because it just feels good to do so. But recently, somebody contacted me and was like, your pictures were so filled with joy. They made me feel so good. It looked like such a happy day for you. And I shared with him the backstory that I'll share with you. So I meet Rob. A few years prior to me meeting Rob, I reconciled with my father, opened the doors to my new open heart, and I wound up meeting Rob. And we got married in June 2014. In March 2014, I had a disagreement with my mother. And for the first time, I set a boundary with her. For the relationship had always been tenuous, but for the first time, I told her she owed me an apology. And I set the domino for a huge falling out with my mother. Now, during this time, I had previously reconciled with my father. I had told my father that I was not inviting him to my wedding. And he was gracious. I told him that I wasn't going to invite his brother and my cousins, whatever. And he was totally gracious. He got it because I didn't want to create this huge falling out because it was so toxic. It was so venomous. It was just ugly. It was just ugly. We'll just leave it at that. And so now I get into this fight with my mother, and it just progresses. She doesn't show up to my shower. She sicks my stepfather on me. She sicks my brother on me. Nobody's responding to my wedding invitation. Clearly, they're not coming to my wedding. But I don't know for sure because nobody's responding. There's this crazy Cold War. So I finally just contact my father and say, hey, listen, I was wrong. Why don't you come to my wedding? Not knowing how it was going to pan out. So my father comes to my wedding, my uncle, my cousins, their spouses. It was the most beautiful and amazing weekend. We did a photo shoot the next day in the pool. The kids were there. We had a confetti cannon at the wedding. It was all 70s disco. It was just I didn't regret a second of it. My father, he traveled from the other side of the world. He lived in Thailand, the other side of the world, to be there. Something I never thought I would see happen. We were estranged for 25 years. My mother was not there. That was okay. It was truly one of the greatest days of my life. And if I'm being honest, I've been estranged from my mother ever since. We never spoke again. But what I learned through this experience is in my growth, that dissonance with my mother became so great. I had to dig for that pony. I had to face those things. I had to accept it. My husband held me together for months while I had to work through, why am I such a terrible daughter? What did I do to deserve this? And bring myself to the other side of it. But I dug for that pony. And I put myself back together. And I realigned myself with healthy beliefs and healthy patterns about myself. And I walked down that aisle and I shined like a diamond. And truly, it was the most beautiful, cathartic, personal growth experience that I had through all of this. Because I was willing to dig. And I was willing to detach. And I was willing to look at myself. And I was willing to rise up. And that's how you raise your vibration. So it's simple, folks. 2 steps. Do what you love and dress what you don't. And hold on tight because it is a ride. Oh my goodness. So check this out. So once you raise your vibration and once you understand how all this energy works, then you learn how to manifest the life you desire. And that we're going to talk about in episode 8. So stick around. I hope to see you then. And as always, thank you for indulging me. Thank you for sticking around. And Ubuntu.